The Pacific Ocean stretched out like an endless blue canvas beneath the aircraft. Inside, Ethan Hayes, a former Navy diver, leaned back, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut. He wasn't a nervous flyer, but something felt off. Across the aisle, Lila Young, a renowned marine biologist, was absorbed in her research papers, oblivious to Ethan's unease. A few rows ahead, Richard Sterling, a titan of industry, barked orders into his satellite phone, his voice echoing through the otherwise serene cabin. The flight had been routine, a standard hop from Los Angeles to Sydney. The usual pre-flight checks, the drone of the engines, the bland, reassuring voice of the pilot, all were predictable, mundane even. Until they weren't. The change was sudden, violent. A jarring shudder ran through the plane. Passengers gripped their armrests. Fear etched on their faces. The pilot's voice, now strained, crackled over the intercom. "Attention passengers, this is an emergency. We're experiencing engine failure. Brace for impact." Chaos erupted. Screams filled the cabin. Ethan, his training kicking in, steeled himself for the inevitable. He knew their odds were slim. They were hundreds of miles from land, alone in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. The plane, now a wounded bird, plummeted towards the water. The impact was deafening, the sensation like being slammed into a brick wall at terminal velocity. Ethan, his body battered but mind alert, struggled to free himself from the wreckage. The fuselage was filling rapidly with water. He could hear screams, the desperate cries of his fellow passengers. Swimming through the churning water, Ethan broke the surface, gasping for air. Debris floated around him, a grim testament to the disaster. He spotted Lila clinging to a piece of the shattered wing, her face pale with shock. "Are you all right?" Ethan yelled over the roar of the waves. Lila nodded, her eyes wide with terror. Together they scanned the wreckage for other survivors. Richard emerged from the sinking plane, coughing and sputtering. He had managed to grab a life vest, his face contorted in a mixture of fear and fury. "My phone! It's gone!" he shouted, as if losing his connection to the world was the greatest tragedy. Ethan suppressed a humorless laugh. Their world had just shrunk to the size of the scattered debris field. Their priorities had shifted dramatically. Survival was all that mattered now. The initial shock began to wear off, replaced by a chilling realization. They were stranded alone in shark-infested waters. The thought sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. He had faced danger before, but never anything like this. As if to confirm their worst fears, a dark, ominous shape cut through the water, circling their makeshift raft. "Shark!" Lila whispered, her voice trembling. The creature was an enormous tiger shark, its cold black eyes reflecting the harsh sunlight. It circled slowly, its powerful body moving with effortless grace. Ethan knew they were easy prey, sitting ducks in this vast, unforgiving ocean. "We need to stay calm," Ethan said, his voice steady, trying to project an air of confidence he didn't feel. "Don't splash or make any sudden movements. Sharks are attracted to movement." His words did little to calm the rising panic. The shark continued its relentless circling, its presence a constant reminder of the danger that lurked beneath the waves. Days bled into nights. The sun beat down mercilessly, baking their skin. The meager rations they had salvaged from the plane dwindled with each passing hour. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, a constant dull ache. Thirst, however, was their most pressing enemy. The salt water, while plentiful, was a cruel temptress, promising relief but delivering only dehydration. Ethan, drawing on his Navy's survival training, took charge. He organized their supplies, rationed their food and water, and kept a watchful eye on the horizon, searching for any sign of rescue. Lila, her initial terror subsiding, proved to be a valuable asset. Her knowledge of marine life helped them identify edible seaweed and fish, supplementing their meager rations. Richard, however, was proving to be more of a liability. Used to a life of luxury and privilege, he railed against their predicament, his complaints a grating counterpoint to the lapping of the waves. "This is unbearable," he would whine, his voice hoarse from thirst. "Why hasn't anyone found us yet?" Ethan ignored him, focusing on their survival. They were adrift in a vast, unforgiving ocean. Hope, he knew, was a double-edged sword. It could sustain them, but it could also destroy them if it proved false.